Alright, next up let's take a look at some specific DCCs. First up, this is a Maya. So I have just downloaded a bunch of scans from the interwebs. So we've just got 5 various models here. I'll leave a link to it in the docs. Cool, so this is this first one, Athena scan. Very nice model. Anyway, so if you haven't used Maya or scripting in Maya before, you just go down here to the Maya script editor, convenient enough, and you've got a Mel tab and a Python tab. Mel's kind of the old language. You can use it if you want. I don't know why you would, but you can. I'm sure there's some good uses for it. But in general, you can do everything with Python, so just go for that. So essentially, this Maya.commands is a list of most of the useful commands you can do inside of Maya. To know what you've got, just go up to help, Python command reference, and here's a alphabetical list of all the useful bits you might need. So I thought a good easy example would be, as we're using scans, sometimes you might need to validate those, for instance, or if you're working in an assets department and you need to send this stuff to another vendor or just down the pipeline in general, you're going to need to validate it to make sure your mesh is nice and clean and doesn't blow up or look gross in rendering, etc. Cool. So in here, in this Python tab, I've just copied in this little thing, just because it's basically about 2 lines that are just copied with different arguments. So to list stuff inside Maya, you use this commands.list, and then you just give it a type, and this V is for visible. I just want to make sure that it's checking visible meshes, which it is. And then list relatives basically gives you can get your full path from it, and you can also, if this was nested, you can get the children from it or parents from it, basically connected, well, as it says, relatives, but basically connected meshes or hierarchies. Cool, then we make just a string here and just pass it in the object it's checking, and then we basically have this polyinfo and we just give it the object, and then these are all just different arguments that will return true and return the value if it finds an issue. So back on our help pages, we could have a look for that. Polyinfo. Okay, polyinfo. And here we go. Essentially, it just says pass it in and it will find any bus stuff, any other dodgy faces, non-manifold stuff, this kind of thing. Cool. So back inside Maya, we can just call this script doing print update mesh and select it all and just press that one to run it. And if there's anything wrong with it, here we go, it tells you what it's running on, and then anything that it's found that you can kick back to your assets team or clean up yourself, however you wish to do it. Cool, so you could go and store this out in a script somewhere, and then you just need to do file source script, or we could just chuck it onto a shelf. So let's do that quickly. So over here, just go new shelf, and we could make, for instance, a bunch of validation tools. Let's do validate, and then you just select it all and middle mouse click drag it here, and then just right click and do edit or open, whatever. Let's give it a decent name, so validate mesh. You can give it another icon if you want. I don't know, that beautiful thing, maybe something more relevant, but that'll be fine. A little tooltip, so validate meshes, mesh in scene, and then this will just be a little label. We'll see how much will fit on the shelf, and just do save. And now, for instance, instead, well, we need that up because it's got to write it somewhere, but just clear this out, can actually clear out the whole thing and just run that. Great. And for instance, we could just try that on another scan. It's font scan. Nice. And then same thing, clear it out, just click that. Cool. And this one's got slightly less issues, but it looks a bunch simpler, so I'm not entirely surprised. All right, next up, let's look at doing something more useful offline with this.